transportation and trucking. It's what drives the economy forward. Every industry and business that supports the infrastructure of daily life and commerce relies on the foundation of goods and services getting from the source to the consumer, such as Alberta's oil and natural gas. And positioned right in the middle of it all is a successful multi-generational company called Omega Transport Services. Now in its third generation of pioneering minds and machines, the Paddock family has been embedded in key construction and oil patch operations, providing the necessary solutions to get the wheels of energy set up and running smoothly. Now led by brothers Jesse and Justin, this operation based out of Brooks, Alberta has embedded into their DNA the know-how and wherewithal to find solutions and do whatever it takes to get things done. Always innovating and ever adapting to the need at hand, Omega Transport Services thrives on the demanding challenges that come with the business. Today, we get an inside look at the attitude and energy behind Omega's operations on this week's episode of The Entrepreneurs.
It takes guts to achieve glory, drive, determination, and the courage to take risks when no one else will. Innovators, trailblazers, and pioneers of industry don't hear the naysayers. Their heads are in the game, even when the playing field doesn't exist. They have the focus to keep their eyes on the prize, the steadfast belief in the dream, and the willpower to make it happen. These are The Entrepreneurs.
Brooks, Alberta, home of Omega Transport Services. From this location they reach far and wide to job sites for heavy construction and oil production operations. They step in and haul whatever needs to be hauled to get these crucial operations set up and running smoothly. Omega Transport Services is a dynamic company that offers heavy hauling, picker services, fluid hauling, oil field transportation, custom fabricated rig-ups, and just about anything else you can think of. They built a reputation on getting things done right with dedication, safety, and on schedule.
What drives me about this is my dad used to take me when I was 5 years old. We'd start trucking, and there's always a passion to do all this on my own, right? We just kind of grew up in it. It's not so much a job, it's a way of life. And my whole family does it. So it's definitely a lifestyle.
But owner Jesse Paddock takes an unorthodox approach to business, allowing Omega to take on new contracts with unique challenges on the turn of a dime.
Well, one thing we always pride ourselves on is our flexibility. You know, a lot of people say, we can't do this because we're just rig movers, or we can't do this because this is what defines us, and I don't want to ever let anything define us within our boundaries, and we can go get something else and get another angle or get something going. That's what we do. I think what makes Omega special is just the diversity. We got the stiff boom pickers, we got the knuckle pickers, which nobody in the patch is willing to go to. It's more of a European thing, but I think they're better. We got hose, we got dump trucks. I would say the reason most customers would return is because we kind of become an important asset to them too. We kind of become who they need us to be, and for the most part we won't say no. We won't. If we can do it, we'll help them figure out how they can do it, or let them know all their options. But we kind of just grow with them, make sure they can get the job done, and if they're calling us and they can get their job done, well then the phone's gonna keep ringing.
If a customer calls, no matter how big the task, Omega employees rise to the challenge, which begins with a well-oiled team, on point working the phones.
Omega Transport, Dale speaking.
What's up?
We got 40 tanks, he wants 80 mats, the berm sections, like there's 50 loads almost total, and they want it there within the next 2 days.
Oh boy.
The Entrepreneurs.
Thrust again into another demanding job, Omega employees must act fast to source the needed materials and get them transported onto the site and set up just the way the clients need as soon as possible. The client, an oil and gas company, needs 4,400 barrel tanks as soon as possible. They're already paying to lease the land, and a tough economy means the pressure to squeeze the most productivity out of every nickel is intense. They have a tall order, 40 tanks delivered to Lloydminster and assembled in 2 days.
I'm gonna have to make some calls just because of finding that many tanks in that short of time, but I will see what I can round up here and then I will get back to you right away.
If you can think of anybody else, I'll scour the internet trying to find some for sale.
I've got to get 40 tanks out to this site and we've only got the 10 left here.
There's never a dull moment.
We're on our way to our south yard, just watch the loader load up some mats.
Where's your best friend Milo, right, Dad?
Yeah, and with my best friend Milo. If you had the choice, would you go to Disneyland or to Omega?
Omega's fun!
Doing this job's pretty exciting and fun because there's just always something different. When we had our construction site here, in one day I'd run rock truck, rock slinger, gravel truck, dozer, grader. You get to run everything in one day. That's why all of our guys are so good, just because they get to do so many things. My philosophy on work is, the number one thing is whatever job you're doing, it gets done. Not to define yourself, not to restrict yourself to anything, and to just always do what you got to do.
In the front office, the Omega team has coordinated all the trucks needed for the Lloydminster contract. Those rigs will be picking up tanks in locations across Alberta. A job this big, on such a short time span, will need every single element to function perfectly. There's no room for error, and certainly no room for broken down equipment.
Every call that ever comes in always needs to be done yesterday. And there's usually a lot of work in getting there and making sure everything's where it needs to be. But essentially what we do is take that weight off everybody else's shoulders and put it on ours. And if we can make the customer look good, then we look good and they're happy with us. And this Lloydminster job is no different. It's a lot of tanks, it's a big thing, it's got a quick deadline, but we need to get done what we need to get done and we'll just make it happen. It gets stressful, but there's always a way.
In Brooks, Omega crews are loading up the last tanks to send to the oil and gas company site in Lloydminster. Winching massive tanks onto bed trucks is a maneuver these men have done many times before, despite their size.
These tankers weigh 10 to 12,000 pounds, depending on if there's insulation on the outside or if they're double walled.
1,000 barrels? Are they brand new or are they used?
You can hire out whatever we got to do. We'll get her done.
Okay, will do.
The entrepreneurs.
3 generations of the Paddock family have led to this moment. Jesse Paddock, together with his brother Justin, run the company. But before them, it was their grandfather Wayne, their father Miles, and their mother Diana, who worked side by side with her husband for years.
We had lots of in the middle of the night stuff. Your 24-hour call, and when it was really busy, like you would get calls. It wasn't uncommon to get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. The rig guys are out there working 24 hours. So if something happens or they decide they need this stuff hauled out, they call you, we need you. And usually it's like now or yesterday. So there was no time to say, oh, okay, well, let's plan for 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Definitely my biggest inspiration where I learned everything was my dad, Miles Paddock. He was definitely the most entrepreneur type person I've ever seen in my life. When I was a kid, we had nothing. We didn't have anything. And then he just rolled the dice and somehow went from 0 to selling out a 170 truck operation right before it crashed. And then we go gold mining. And then he starts it up from scratch again. And same thing. Just could do it over and over. He could turn pennies into dollars.
Diana isn't surprised to see her son have a similar entrepreneurial vision.
Because he's so much like his dad and his grandpa, like he's always looking ahead, into the future and wanting to do better.
I learned a lot of work ethic from my dad and my grandpa, and the struggles they had to go through to get where they are now. And I want to make sure I hand that down to my kids, so when I'm going home, I'm not complaining about the stuff that happened at work or the bad instances, it's let them know how awesome it is and what we got to do, and keep them pumped so when they're older, they're excited. They want to go to work. They don't fear it. And I really want to pass down that just sense of getting it done, working, and having a purpose. I think the generations nowadays are really losing that being in touch with work. Now it's your life is your life outside of work, and work is just there to pay your bills. Well, no, it's where you all are all day, every day. You might as well enjoy it and make it your life.
Even as Jesse plans for the future, the strength of Omega's foundation comes with a firm respect for the past.
The name Omega came from my grandma. When my grandpa started the first version of Omega up in the 80s. And it's kind of, well, from the Bible, it's the last, right? And kind of the idea that I take to it is, you know, Omega's the last call you need to make. We hope. And you know, even if we don't have the supplies or the resources, we'll find it for you to try, because at the end of the day, we don't just want to haul our load and go home. We want to make sure everybody gets service. Everything's done, so if everybody's happy, everybody's making money, and we can keep going.
Jesse and his brother Justin run Omega's operations. Together they are a strong team, balancing the legacy of a trucking company with the ever-evolving needs of clients.
I've always got along really well with my brother, so it's usually always a good day working alongside him. I mean, it's always fun working with your best friend, and Jesse's always been one of my best friends growing up. Well, it depends. Sometimes we're working on our own problems because there's so many going on, but yeah, we're always, whether it's me working on one or him working on the other, we'll always throw the idea what we're kind of thinking and check with the other guy, see if he's got an idea on it. We moved into management positions probably 2 years ago. It's been a learning experience. It's been awesome, but it's been a learning experience. I think the biggest thing I've kind of learned is when there is a problem, you can't just listen to one person's side. There's always, you know, what's right to this guy makes it easy for this guy, just completely screws it up for another guy. So you really got to find common ground and compromise for everybody.
The Paddock family is no stranger to hard times. In the summer of 2016, Omega sold off so many vehicles and equipment it made Alberta auction history.
I definitely had a different outlook on that auction. A lot of people look at it as negative. I look at it as a new beginning, a new start. Every time you get a fresh start, and you just got to hit that reset button.
Where other companies may have been budget cutting and slashing, Jesse saw a marketing opportunity. It was at a time when the recession in Alberta seemed to be at its darkest hour. A bold maneuver during a dramatic economic downturn, nimble and quick, enabling Omega to pivot and be ready for the next contract.
In an economic downturn like this, we just tried harder, worked harder, just trying to sow the seeds for the next thing we can get into, and working hard everything we can, knowing everything's not going to work out, but something will, something might, and just keep an eye out for that. Quitting is never an option. We just thought this was such a great way to honor my dad, to have a full day of just Omega Transport stuff. It's sad, but in one way it's kind of nice to show everybody what he did.
The Entrepreneurs.
The Paddock family works hard and plays hard, but the entrepreneurial wheels are always turning. The Paddock Inn opened in the spring of 2016 in the Crow's Nest Pass. The Paddock family thought the hotel would be just the thing to help them spend a little more time in this beautiful area. No matter how diversified a company is, their reputation is what makes or breaks them. Sometimes it all boils down to one single project. The other side to Omega Transport Services' successful operations is a fully stocked machine shop that is set up to deal with every breakdown or custom-built need. The man that runs the shop is Arnold. You name it, and he could build it.
I like it in the shop, of course, because I've been here most of the time. I look after it as much as I can. But if something comes up, we go outside and we do a little bit of everything. When we start building something, we talk about it and what we like to do and what the end result is supposed to be, and then we start planning for it and start building it. Well, if we need special tools and we don't have it, we just build them. We'll make them. We'll come up with something and we'll get the job done. That's the Omega way. Everybody's together, a good family outfit basically, and that's why everybody's around here for so long.
Well, my dad bought this truck. It was no military truck, and he just wanted to have the biggest, baddest winch truck around.
Maybe someday we'll get to finish it and we'll get a good use for it, or somebody will. It will be a mean truck.
It's going to be sweet when it's done.
I'm thinking camouflage.
Yeah, we might do a camouflage.
Back in Lloydminster, all the trucks have been delivered, some from far as 500 kilometers away. But the job's not done. Now the tank farm has to be assembled. Longtime Omega crane operator Daryl Peterson gets the powerful knuckle picker to the site for the tank farm just in time. Custom painted in Omega green, the specialty crane has an extra long reach, 70 feet.
As a crane operator, you have to be precise. You can't have any room for error or mistakes.
With another 12,000-pound tank perfectly in place, the 40-tank farm is well on its way to being complete.
When it comes to the risk and the reward of the industry, it's when I was younger, I sat down and I thought, you know, if you just work for a nice, safe wage, you can pretty much plan out what you're going to have the day you retire. Or you can go all in, you can risk it. You might become something big, you might lose it all, but at least there's that mystery of, you know, trying to achieve something, the adventure of doing it. For me, it's not knowing what's next month, not knowing what's happening tomorrow, and just trying to make it happen, trying to make a dream happen. The dream is just to get ahead and have something to hand down to the kids one day. It's a legacy company, but it's everybody has their own version. My grandpa started his, and then years later, then my dad started his version, and now we're in it, and I'm hoping my kids will do something. Whether it's trucks or whatever they're doing, hopefully they figure something out they want to do.
The Paddocks are not afraid to take risks, and they're always up for the job, even at the last minute. It's this combination of flexibility and fearlessness that makes the people of Omega shine.
I'd say recently the one thing I've learned about myself is like there's different levels. My dad, he was way more of a gunslinger. He just, you know, major entrepreneur, risk everything, just hoping. I try and follow that, and I'm a lot like that, but I'm a lot more, I like to be a lot more planned and a little bit more safety. The biggest problem that a lot of people get into is it's, you know, defining themselves to one job, defining themselves to this is who I am. I'm only a truck driver and I only do this job, or I'm only this and this is only what I do. And to me, that's why define yourself. It's, you know, just do whatever you got to do. It's just live life and work and try and get as much stuff as you can in. And when the industry changes and people are sitting there, you know, waiting for their perfect job, you know, the people that are getting ahead are out there doing whatever needs to be done in the change. It's just being out there and making it happen and changing with whatever's coming. Our idea at Omega is just to get it done, be that person who everyone needs us to be, and just get the job done. Back to that defining yourself is everybody here, they just do whatever we have to do, you know, whether they're working in gold mines, going to the hotel, running picker, running dozer. It doesn't matter. Everybody here, they just do whatever they have to do to get it done. Nowadays, everyone you want to hire, they come in the door and they got set out what they want happen, their terms. I only drive this truck, I only do this, and I only work between these hours, and it has to fit in with my schedule. But it's hard to find, but here at Omega, we got really good people, and it makes it easy to want to keep coming in. It's keep the family going. After this last downturn, I really realized, like, we do feel really blessed. The big thing I'm learning is, you know, not to get attached to the losses and, you know, where you could have been, where you should be, because we're not there, and it is what it is. And whether you got to sell out, whether you got to take a loss, it's like being at the casino. You cash out your chips when you're ahead. You can't look at what your highest was and keep going for it. You just put your family and you put God first, and it all works out. To all the other entrepreneurs out there, especially the younger people looking to get in, yeah, your idea might not work out the first time, but the risk is worth it. You just got to take that jump. You got to get into it and make it work. Hard work pays off. Sometimes you got to get rid of security to get ahead. Fear can be a good motivator, and when you're going to put it all on the line, you can't pay attention to failure. Most people that I know have failed multiple times, and you know, failure is where you learn. Every downturn, every loss is where I learn my biggest lessons for the next go, and just got to go all in. Give everything you got.